A line is a story about monuments. Some of them are prehistoric, stone circles, long barrows and that sort of thing. They're mysterious to us now. They lie beyond what Gadamer called the horizon of understanding. So they can mean more or less anything we like. Some of the monuments, on the other hand, date from the 16th, 17th and 18th centuries, a time when London was expanding. It's a tiny sliver of London's history, but it's the bit that certain psychogeographers have mined to exhaustion for picturesque tales of plague, crime, top hats and rat catchers.
This is St Bartholomew's Hospital. The Book of the Foundation tells us that in 1123 the jester Rahere was taken up in a malarial dream by a winged beast, where he met St Bartholomew himself, who told him to build here at Smithfield. But I have another theory. I believe it started here with something much older. There's nothing here now, but this is a clue.
And so is this. The abilities of water to heal are very ancient indeed.
A line started with beer and history. It was a pub crawl, but between each pub we'd go to places that were resonant with stories. Hearing those stories in those places, it brought history alive and somehow made it more relevant. You can sense history is a process of which you are the end product, and it's a process that isn't finished with you yet. James Heartfield wrote about London nostalgia being an industry, endlessly mining all of this dark material from under the unknowable layers and fueling the gentrified fires of new Londoners. He accused Peter Ackroyd and the rest of writing copy for tour guides and signage for the London Dungeon.
This area of Shoreditch has always fascinated me. In the 70s it felt similar in many ways. It wasn't trendy, but it was still cheap. City fringe space, packed to blackness with printers, architects and security firms.
I was always mesmerised by Arnold Circus. I harboured a vague suspicion that it was the repository of secrets. And it was. The Victorians had something to hide, and they hid it under here.
The monument we're most interested in, though, dates from the 20th century. It's not a building, but a theory. The theory of ley lines, devised by Alfred Watkins. It's a theory that makes meaning out of these prehistoric megaliths and cairns and things. It tries to pull them into the horizon of understanding. We weren't very interested in whether Watkins' theory was right or wrong. We were more interested in what led him to read the landscape the way he did, and why people went on to interpret his own monument the way they did.
The ley line we're interested in passes through this lock-up in Shoreditch, upon which once sat a wealthy priory, and then the first theatre in London. And after a gap of 400 years, it's set to be home to one again, the Tower Theatre Company.
So Martin, tell me, why here? Why this site?
Well, first and foremost, because we were made homeless, our theatre company was made homeless something like 6 or 7 years ago, and we've been looking for a new permanent home. We looked at a number of places across London and come quite close to settling on some. But then an interested benefactor came and put us wise to this site, and we've now been given it. Now, we knew at the time that there were associations with Shakespeare in the area and that there was a possibility that the site was, the site of the theatre, his original theatre. But we didn't know for sure at that point by any means. And it's only very recently that we've had the archaeological survey done and that we've actually had that confirmed. So it's very exciting. We do at least one Shakespeare play a year. We have a standing commitment to tour a play to the Jardin Shakespeare in the Bois de Boulogne, which we do every April, May time, and we usually perform the same play here in London. And we've also, alongside all of that, reached an agreement with the people who have given us the site that the first public performance that we do at this new theatre when we built it will be Romeo and Juliet, which premiered on this spot.
Wonderful.
And tens of yards to your right.
Yes.
So it's here? Yes. So this is one corner of the octagonal outline of what would have been the theatre, and most of the building would have been behind where I'm standing now.
Actually, it turned out that physically walking along our ley line was a bit tiresome, and a lot of the story we wanted to tell was somewhere else. So we took the walk, distilled it down, and put it inside our audience's heads instead. And that's the event we called A Line.